Okay, so today we are going to be talking about my favorite authors. Every year in December, I update my favorites list. We talk about my favorite authors, favorite series, favorite standalones. That's what we're going to be doing. That's what we're going to be starting today with authors. Every year I give you my top 5 authors list. This year it's top 6 because, I don't know, I make the rules. If you've been here for a while, pause the video, place your bets, go ahead and make your guess of my top 6 in the comments. If you get all the names and the order correct, you get a cookie. Not provided by me, but someone out there will give you a cookie. My number 1 favorite author of all time, because we're starting at the top, you may know if you know my shelves well, is Fredrik Backman. I've not read all of his books yet. I still haven't read A Man Called Ove, I think is how you say it, which is probably his most popular book and the one that people yell at me to read the most, but someone spoiled the ending for me and I'm trying to forget it before I read it. But I've failed this far, so I'm probably just gonna read it. Anyway, Fredrik Backman, he writes literary fiction. He writes stories that the point of his books is to have a discussion. He wants to talk to you about humanity and about people and about the depths of looking a little bit deeper and what wires us. He digs into a lot of his own insecurities in his books, which, oh, do they hit me right in my insecurities too. Always make me think, always make me view the world a little bit differently. I love his stories. Even the ones that I have that I don't love as hard, because I haven't given every single one of his books 5 stars, but even the ones that I don't love as hard, I always come out of them with a lot of stuff to think about and a lot of stuff to, I'm always happy I read them. Let's order them, shall we? Because why not? Starting from my favorite down to my least favorite, but not in a negative way. The one that I favorite the least. And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer, a little novella about a grandpa, a son, and a grandson, and their stories as grandpa is losing himself to dementia. This is a very personal subject to me, and I appreciate it a lot. Beartown and Us Against You, which is going to be a trilogy. There are 2 books out so far. A hockey town in Sweden. This town is very focused around hockey. A girl in the story, our main character, gets raped, and all the discussions and reactions and things around that. Very difficult to read, but so good. Things my son needs to know about the world. This is a nonfiction that he wrote to his son that made me cry a lot. Deal of a Lifetime. I actually just finished reading this, and it was really good as well. These are all 5 stars. Now we're down to the 4s and the 3.5s. A man who has dedicated his life to accomplishments instead of to family and things that he wishes he had cared more about, and now he has a life-changing decision to make. My grandmother asked me to tell you she's sorry. A little girl, ooh, how do you describe this one without spoiling? A little girl and her grandma, and some things. Anxious people, a bank robbery, and a lot of conversations. His books are hard to describe because it's really about the discussions more than it's about the story. Anyway, I love this author. He is a Swedish author. I read his translated books, and the fact that his stories still hit me this hard, props go out to the translator as well. I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the video. I have a rule with these favorite author lists that I do. I can't mention an author that that I haven't read more than one of their work. So Scott Lynch wouldn't count because I've only read 1 series by him. So I have to read more than 1 series or more than 1 standalone for them to be able to fit. Next on the list is Joe Abercrombie, and he counts because I finally finished Best Served Cold. I have never read an author write characters the way Joe Abercrombie writes characters. He can write complex, I guess Bachman should count for that. But anyway, we're talking about Joe now. He writes complex, deep, incredible characters that are so dark but so human, and I want to follow them and I want to root for them even though I don't agree with anything they're doing. And his ability to write complex and deep characters on this level is astounding to me. His prose is gorgeous, his worlds are cool, and his plot lines are very interesting even if sometimes they take a while to get going. Daphne du Maurier. I love gothic horror, gothic thrillers. And she, again, characters, wow. She writes characters in these complex and twisted ways that, again, I don't want to be like them, but I do need to know more about them. And her slow unveiling of their characters, everybody seems fine until you get to know them a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. And then you're constantly wondering in her stories, who is where are we going? Who do I trust? And with each chapter, as you unveil more and more, you change your mind, and it doesn't feel cheap, and it doesn't feel unearned. It feels so perfect the way she does it. And I love that. Gosh, I love her writing. Also, she writes these creepy, unsettling stories, and her prose is just as creepy and unsettling. And I love that. Oh, I love it when prose match the story, match the tone. Also, just her ability to weave these complex stories together and then end the story right before I really want it to be ended, so that there's so much speculation about what really happened. Oh, that's brilliant. That's so hard to accomplish so well, and it's brilliant. And I've bought several more of her books and will be continuing to be a student of her for a while. Brandon Sanderson, I'm not going to get all his books out because the man writes. Brandon Sanderson is one of those authors where by the time you get to the end of what he's written, you realize how much he's written into that story. He puts so many details into his stories that come together in such a satisfying way at the end, and I love it. I also really love his character work. He takes a lot of types of characters that you think you know them, and then he goes deeper, and he goes deeper, and he goes deeper, and he spends a lot of time going deeper internally. You don't see as much of characters externally, but you see so much of their brains and what they're thinking in their internal life that it's very easy to connect with his characters. Plus, his magic systems are always complex and fascinating and so fun to discover. My son's home, so I'm now trying to speed things up. But Sanderson can write these epic, massive stories in very digestible ways that very satisfying, epic stories, and the way they come together, incredible. Jane Austen! That's my kid. This is my Jane Austen set. Oh my goodness. I love Jane Austen. So she obviously writes romance, but she also does a societal study with her stories where she takes these societal expectations and rules and makes fun of them. She characterizes things where she turns types of people and expectations of society, she turns them into caricatures so that she's essentially making fun of her society in the most silly, hilarious, and brilliant ways. She also, again, writes her characters very flawed. And actually, let me link you a video that I did where I kind of break down all of the main novels that she wrote and what genre they're really supposed to fit in. They kind of all get put into romance, which every one of her main novels has a romance at the forefront. But they're different genres. Some of them are meant to be a romance. Some of them are meant to be a comedy. Some of them are meant to be a parody. And I break down what each one is and why they would be a good place to start for different people. So if you're looking to get into Jane Austen, that's a good video to begin on. Again, there's just so much hidden depth in her stories and so many discussions to be had within these stories. Plus, she writes romances really well. Okay, I can't find all my Neil Gaiman books because they're scattered all over my bookshelves in my room. But the last author on the list is Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman writes a lot of different types of stories, but the way I would describe the majority of them is he has this way of taking the world as we know it and adding magic and doing it in a way that is really complex. And, how do I describe? I don't know how to describe his work as a whole because he writes so many different types of stories. Sometimes he writes urban fantasy where it's our world with magic in there. And it's fascinating and confusing and so cool. And then other times he takes actual fairy tales, but he does something so unique with them that I love exploring. He writes a lot of short books. He also writes some longer books, but every single one of his books, I find that he's one of those authors where every single word he writes matters. And by the time you get to the end of his story, you realize how woven together it is and how these little tiny details that seemed insignificant mattered to the whole thing. And I love that. Man, I love that kind of intentional writing. He also has these prose that is so gorgeous, and he's one of the few authors that I feel like it doesn't really matter if I'm enjoying the story, because the way he's telling it, kind of like Backman, the way he's telling it is enough for me to feel like I've connected with him on a deeper level. Feels like he puts a lot into his stories. Oh, also, Neil Gaiman, one of the only 2 situations in my life that I've read a scene and actually genuinely started to panic from something I was reading. He just has the ability to write things in such a tangible and realistic way. Like, I feel like I'm breathing the air of the stories that he tells. It's so immersive. He's such an immersive author, and I love where he takes his stories. Oh, I should have grabbed Sandman as well. I love where he takes his stories. He has so many different types of stories, and I feel like I'm entering a whole new world each time, and I love it. I love it so much. No! Oh! So there you go. That's a list of my favorite authors this year. Hopefully next year that list will change again. Hopefully I can just keep building on this list every year. These are balancing on my knee. They're not levitating. Anyway, I would love to continue chatting with you about this in the comments. What are your favorite authors? Who are your favorite authors? And have you read any of mine? And who do you plan on reading next? I post videos every Tuesday through Friday. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.